Hello, I'm horror cartoonist Dennis St. John. I draw monsters and write twisted tales. As you can imagine, I was a little obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Lucky for me, so were most of my high school friends, all except one. One friend who stubbornly refused to join the Scoobies. So here we all are, 20-some-odd years later. I'm teaming up with Doc Travis, John, Teach Landis, and maybe a special guest or two, and we're going to make our friend, Michael Poley, watch one episode of Buffy a week until he's no longer the Buffy Virgin. Welcome to Buffy Virgin, a spoiler-free Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. It's season 6, baby, and Buffy is dead, so what even is this show? We're watching Bargaining Part 1. Before we get started, I just want to ask all you friendly listeners out there to make sure and subscribe and rate us on the podcast listener that you are listening on right now. It really helps. I'm your host, cartoonist Dennis St. John. Why don't the rest of you guys introduce yourself with what you would bring to the resurrection party?
Hi, my name's Travis, and I think I would bring pizza.
Yeah,
Pizza works in almost every gathering or shindig.
Could always use pizza.
Could always use pizza.
If it's good enough for the Ninja Turtles.
I'd probably bring pita and hummus because that's the slacker thing to bring to any party when you haven't really planned ahead, and so it doesn't have anything to do with being resurrection. But that's usually my move going to any gathering.
My name's Michael. I'm the Virgin. I've only seen Buffy up to season 6, episode 1, and I would bring the wine, red wine.
Good call. That's what I was thinking also. Brings,
I thought that was the first thing people would mention.
All right.
We can also bring wine.
Yeah, I'd bring a nice rich red. So let's jump in. But first, we're going to do reactions to season 5, episode 16, which is The Body. And we all know which episode that is. All right. I'm going to start with a note from Anonymous, who's not a moose. Back in season 4 premiere, Buffy says, "I can't wait for Mom to get the bill for these books. I hope it's a funny aneurysm." Which is funny. And he says, "Don't feel bad about your predictions, Michael. You didn't kill Joyce. It was the high cost of tertiary education that did her in." And I wanna Klitsch says, "For me, it's the worst and best episode of Buffy. Worst because I still feel fucking pain when I watch it. Best, it's just a masterpiece of TV work. I lost my mother for cancer in 2005. And, well, this episode is so real. I always had this thing for it. Buffy has her superpowers, but for this, she's like everybody else. You can't do anything. And this last scene with a vampire, it's like catharsis moment for her. For the first time, she can do something, but it's still like nothing." Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I wanna.
Very powerful, yes.
John,
so
why don't
sorry
you
about
read
your
the next
mom.
one? Oh, yeah. Very sorry for your mom.
Jared Thatcher says, "This is going to go against the majority viewpoint, but for me, the Anya scene felt false to me. She has the largest body count in the show. She feels no remorse for it. And prior to this episode, she had not a single scene with Joyce. Yet, I'm expected to believe that she'll be mourning Joyce?" Definitely a minority opinion, I think.
Yeah.
I see the argument, but
I've noticed, Garrett, that you're always trashing on Anya. Which is totally fine. But you're wrong. She's great. Mike, why don't you read Ren and Oz's notes?
Sure. Ren says, "Thought I would watch this week on YouTube instead of listening. From the look of a couple of expressions, I feel like there's the Mars Virgin, Veronica Mars Virgin in the bunch. It would make a great short F up, flip up, and so much shared DNA with Buffy, but with its own unique and wonderful sensibility. Also, excellent job, guys, with a fairly brutal episode which many of us elect to skip on watches. That, I think, speaks to its power." Yeah, I've seen a little bit of Veronica Mars. That'd be fun. I wouldn't want to do it one episode at a time. That would be too painful, but it would be a fun thing to watch, at least jump in a bit. That's my wife watches it every week right now with her girlfriend. So it is on all the time.
All right. So let's find out what bargaining is all about by listening to a summary.
The summary.
Buffy is still dead. Giles is fleeing to England. No one knows Xander and Anya are engaged. Dawn is being raised by a robot. And hell is coming to Sunnydale. So it's time for Willow to puke a snake.
All right. Let's do great lines for this episode.
Great lines.
Starting off with, I really liked Spike's line. He says, "Oh, poor Watcher. Did your whole life pass before your eyes? Cup of tea, almost got shagged, cup of tea." It's excellent. Good Spike line.
I like how John's leaning into this British accent. It's just as bad.
Week.
It's just as bad as James Marsters. It's so accurate. It's so true to source.
I don't know if you can say, I was struggling with when I'm typing it up, whether to write cuppa or to spell out cup of.
I think you gotta.
No, you're right, Cuppa, yeah.
Well, I got another Spike line because
Lean into
he's
it.
just, he's the most fun part of this episode here. So he's talking with, with Don. That's all schools are, just factories spewing out mindless little automatons who go on to be very valuable and productive members of society. And you should go because Buffy would want you to. I just like him catching her stare and then like switching course on his statement about school. Love it.
Trav, how do you rank Mike's attempt at the accent? Sounded a little Aussie to me.
It was actually pretty bad too. So that's in the spirit of Spike's actual accent. John's was more laid back. Mike was more like excited and urgent. Like if Spike was a writer and he was like, really got to tell you something.
I didn't choose a Spike line, and so I'm not going to do it in an accent because that would only be confusing.
I think you should anyway. I think you should just do a Cockney accent anyway.
Who made you the boss of the group? No, this is from Xander and then everybody else. So Xander's like, who made you the boss of the group? And then like kind of a chorus of, you did. You said Willow should be the boss. And then you said, let's vote. It was unanimous. You made her this little plaque that said boss of us with little sparkles on it. And
Yeah, that was a great moment. And I also I like those little scenes that you get only through the characters remembering them, but you can completely like paint the picture in your mind of that scene and how that went because you know the characters that well. Like that's a really nice little thing that they are able to do.
Totally.
And I love what Buffybot said. I guess I would watch a TV show called Buffybot the Vampire Slayer as well, since I like Buffybot so much. And after Buffybot kills a vampire, she says, "That'll put marzipan in your pie plate."
Bingo.
Oh yeah, bingo. Yeah, that's the last of it. Bingo.
Yeah, good one. I almost did that one, Trav. So I'm glad you did.
But you knew I was going to harp on it.
This kind of brings me to, we'll get into this later, but like Buffybot this episode reminds me so much of a child. And like part of it is like the thing of like kids love jokes, but they don't quite understand humor yet. So it's like their jokes are pure absurdism and they love knock knocks, but don't understand how knock knocks work.
Man, there's so many questions about Buffybot's programming, and like she was programmed to raise her hand. Like there was just like a lot of like really like she's programmed with really infantile responses. So, anyways,
yeah, I kind of want to get into this a little bit.
Yeah,
yeah, let's do that.
But first, let's do the kill count.
The kill count.
So 3 vampires this week, 1 fawn, a bunch of smashed up windows and torched buildings, but no fatalities so far from the biker gang. But we're minusing 1 slayer from the kill count from the body. So wild week. And now let's jump into weird noticings and trivia.
weird noticings.
First thing that you gotta notice right off the bat is in the intro, there's no Giles. Giles is no longer in the opening credits.
Yeah. And Will has the final spot instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the opening, we see how the team is functioning. And Tara is a full-on part of the team because she's got the leather jacket. That equals badass on this show. And for some reason, Willow can is standing above a crypt and telepathically projecting info to everybody. For some reason, she can project into Spike's mind. Yet in the season 3 episode Earshot, we learned that telepaths don't work on vampires when Buffy gets the telepath power. Right?
Oh, that's right.
A little inconsistency, Joss. Come on.
Maybe it's not true telepathy. Maybe she's actually projecting a tiny version of her voice into their ears, like AirPods.
Well, Xander speaks out loud, and he's like, I know I don't have to speak out loud because it's.
True. Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, there goes that theory.
But this way leads madness.
Or it could be that Spike is just very special.
Could be. I don't know why he'd be more special than Angel, though, right?
Yeah.
They're from the same lineage.
Oh, yeah.
This week, a friend of mine asked me, what's the difference between J.J. Abrams and Joss Whedon? Because they both just seem like white guys to me. And one of the,
Whoa.
and one of the
Not
things
wrong.
I was like, I instead of being irritated, I was like, let me spell out all these differences. Like Joss is into story structure, and J.J. Abrams is into piles. But I said one of the things they both have Joss is so much more into character development than world building, and J.J. Abrams' world building is literally just stacking, so they can both get into these crazy inconsistency issues. So by season 6 or something, you're contradicting yourself, because it's really not about how the magic of the world works, right? It's about the characters in the moment. So that was a divergent already.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. I definitely agree with the J.J. Abrams pile structure.
Yeah.
No, Joss is the piler, right? Well, they're both pilers and stackers. But yeah, I like that read a lot. I mean, yeah, characters versus story. Boom.
Yeah. John, you got the next one?
Oh, yeah. Just pointing out that Willow and Tara have moved into Joyce's bedroom, and they have moved in. I don't know how much story time is supposed to have passed since Buffy died. I get the impression
I think it's been the summer.
Yeah, it's been the summer. It's been a few months, but it's not like they have some boxes. They've taken that room and made it theirs. It's completely full of their crap.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason for me to feel offended or to feel like it's disrespectful, but I do a little.
I feel that way also. I'm did they ask Dawn's permission here?
Yeah.
And then they're giving Dawn shit about borrowing stuff.
Yeah.
You moved into her house.
Are they paying rent?
They better be. We can talk about that throughout much of season 6, I think.
Yes.
But let's remember, Dawn loves Willow and Tara. They're her witches.
No, it's
That's
true.
right.
I don't think Dawn's upset about it. I think Dawn's probably, she says as much that she wants to stay and continue to live in that situation. But just for me, as being more adult than anyone who's on the show at this point, I'm just this seems like a bad situation.
Well, this is full on screwball comedy, right at this point, because they're trying to keep the household, the illusion that there is a household at all, so that Dawn can continue to go to school and a robot can pretend to be her sister. I mean, this is a really crazy situation. This feels full on 80s comedy.
If the show switched to a sitcom and didn't ever resurrect Buffy.
It's just Small Wonder from now on.
I could have used 5 more episodes of Buffy being actually dead, and then it's just being a screwball comedy where they're trying to keep Buffybot from breaking the illusion. I could have used many, many, many episodes, a high school dance that Buffybot has to chaperone, there may be some fundraiser that has to happen, or Buffybot starts working at a coffee shop, or I could have used a lot of things, or her dad come visiting. I could have used a lot more episodes of this.
This should be the first episode of the show. I mean, this is where we should start, really. Like, just clear the decks. I mean, it's totally like the Small Wonder world, right? Like, with a robot character that's like a robot replacement character. I mean, it's so like where these kind of resurrection stories start. I know that this is in the recommendations, whatever, but this feels like kind of there's Battle Angel vibes to this one for me, and it would be fantastic to start here. Unfortunately, it feels like the show is ready to move on already from this idea, even though it's such a fun, crazy world to live in.
Do you think Sarah Michelle Gellar
those
has
sandwiches?
Do you think that Sarah Michelle Gellar has in her contract in the going forward after this show that she's not going to play a robot version of herself for longer than like one episode? Like that's her writer. She's like, you know what? If you write a robot version of me, I'm not gonna do it. It's like in her contract for any future shows.
Do you think that was in the contract for the sitcom she was in with Robin Williams? She's like, I know.
That's her just in case writer. She's like, I'm not gonna be Buffybot. I'm gonna be a robot version of myself.
It'd be a cool ending to like the Scooby-Doo movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
just
kidding.
wondering, does she become a robot in the Scooby-Doo movies?
I love it. I think she loved playing the robot because I think she likes that variety because she loved playing that silly version of herself in Something Blue.
Yeah. I brought this up before. I think Sarah Michelle Gellar is a great comedic actress.
Absolutely.
And she doesn't get to express that enough. So
yeah.
Well, in any event, Giles needs to get out of town because it's time to resurrect the dead, and no one needs to tell Giles what it is they're planning because the adult needs to leave the room for them to do something really messed up. And I feel like that's the telegraph on this, and and then at the end they're like, and he'll come back, when we bring back Buffy. And I assume he will come back when Buffy comes back, but whoa, what a wonderful mess that setting up. I'm very excited about that. 2 predictions on that later.
All right.
Yeah. So, man, nobody talks about how the fact that Dawn living in the house, there's one moment where the music is sad and they pan over to Dawn when she's looking at Buffybot and then they pan back. But man, it is deeply, deeply disturbing and troubling that Dawn is living with a life-size replica of the sister who just died to save Dawn's life, who's also incidentally her mother and her sister. And actually, no one else is freaking out. I mean, this is truly deeply disturbing. And then, of course, Dawn seems to be handling this extraordinarily well. And it doesn't seem like anyone has addressed this with her. It feels like everything else is getting addressed. Dawn stealing clogs or whatever. But it's if that's all that Dawn's doing, you're winning the parenting battle because Dawn should be stealing cars, burning down buildings, all kinds of crazy stuff. She should be acting out insanely amounts until, she should be electrocuting the Buffybot at night. I mean, she should be doing weird stuff to the Buffybot at night.
She's doing a little bit of weird stuff.
Do you think Dawn is traumatized? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I totally agree with Travis. And there's the deeply weird but amazing scene at night where Dawn goes from her room to go sleep in the bed with the Buffybot.
That feels very honest. That feels very, very honest.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing scene. It's so deeply troubling, But it does totally show that Willow and Tara, they're doing as fine a job as you'd expect a pair of 20-year-olds to suddenly do, taking a foster child. But they're not prepared for Dawn's emotional needs in any way, right?
Do you think, Dawn's clearly traumatized from Buffy's death, but yet she doesn't get over the trauma because Buffy's still around in this robot form. And so she has to she's on a really creepy loop, a terrifying loop right now of never really getting over the trauma of Buffy being gone because there's literally a robot saying I love you. And ditto, very few characters are even moving on after Buffy being gone because the robot is there. I mean, that's one reason Giles has to leave is to get away from this robot that's reminding him of his failure. But the Willow is kind of masterminding this world because she keeps repairing the robot because she keeps repairing this loop that they get caught in. Like, I mean, Willow is really the most dastardly character here, which is probably, gotten them to live in the house and then keeps repairing the robot so they can keep living on this loop like they're all the Scooby Gang still. Like it's really messy.
That's a deep read, Mike.
It's the worst for Dawn, right? Because she never gets to go over the trauma.
I feel like we're about 5 minutes away from this in real life, where like somebody's going to use like deep learning artificial intelligences, train them on your social media presence, and then when you die, just keep it going. Use news as the input, and then just constantly keep you reacting to everything that's happening, and you'll just keep posting for all eternity.
Since my social media is like 90% me promoting either the Buffy podcast or my own comics, Resurrected Dennis would be awful.
He's gonna hold the flame. He's gonna hold the flame for the Buffy podcast forever. For me,
but you gotta get. You gotta get social media. Yeah, I mean, you gotta get social media that posts new photos of yourself, though. New selfies. Yeah, that's where like I'm in.
Well, they can deep fake your face onto forever. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I think it's definitely a cool read. I mean, this can be read in a couple different ways. Number one, of course, Dawn. They can't acknowledge that Buffy died, otherwise she'll be taken away. So Dawn can't get professional psychiatric counseling, even though there is a patient-client confidentiality. But I think you probably have to report that that there was no living adult in the room, or that she had no living adult. But so she can't really get professional psychiatric counseling. But then that's a really great dark read on Willow. Like, Willow is in a real dark place right now. If you think about, she's really compromising a lot of different moral aspects, or could be. And so, yeah, she's her grief is definitely different. And so you can definitely say that maybe this is just her version of grieving. You could definitely take it that way. Like, her grief is so profound. She's not acknowledging that Buffy died, or not outwardly expressing it. She's resurrecting her best friend. I mean, so her thing could be, this is what grief. This is one manifestation of grief. So that's actually pretty interesting read there.
Yeah, thanks, Trev. So I said that Xander not letting Anya tell people they're engaged is fucked. There's like legit no reason to be doing this.
Yeah, no, couples should make decisions together. Right? That's why the surprise proposal is a really dick move. This is like kind of a similarly dick move, I feel like.
I mean, I kind of understand it, but I mean, it abstractly it makes sense. It just depends on, it's been a long time. Like, certainly the day after Buffy has died, you don't want to say anything.
Right.
I would think enough time has passed. I mean, in the short term, it makes sense emotionally, but you're right. At this point in time, it does not make sense. I agree with you.
Yeah, it would be awkward if they did it the day Buffy died. They're all
it's been like
they're all just
3
like
months,
standing around the body being like, guess what? We have news.
But then how long do they wait after Buffy gets resurrected, right? Because like, oh, Buffy's here. I mean, then is it just joy upon joy? Is that when it's at the right time? I mean, I get this thing about the timing of engagements being a big deal, but it's less a big deal before the reality of like how depressed your friends are, and more about the reality of like other people get engaged. And so there can be multiple weddings in a heat of weddings, So you got to like, that timing is awkward. And making sure that you are quietly or implicitly connecting with your friends to make sure it's not competing with other events. But I there's something cultural about this that I'm not connected to anymore. That feels like very old school. This idea that you would save this moment that Xander is feeling, but because it feels like a true thing. But
I felt like Xander confused like pregnancy with engagement. Like, you're supposed to wait a couple months in case and the gang totally trusts Spike to babysit Dawn, which I'm sure will have defenders of Spike being like, this is fine, but that's some weirdness.
Yeah. It's not clear to me at all that like because like the only thing keeping Spike from being evil is that he has the chip in his head, and then also he had a crush on Buffy.
Right. Yeah.
But Buffy's dead, so now it's just the chip. One would expect. It seems like that's not the case. Like, it seems like he has this like weird emotional need to take care of Dawn. But like, if I like, based on everything we've seen so far, I would not trust that, because that seemed like that could change in a moment. And like, he just stood there and like allowed Giles to be choked.
Hey! Let's not impugn Spike's character too much. So I'm going to be the dissenting voice. I actually think it's fine that Spike babysit Dawn. I mean, at this point in time, that's where the show says his character will be. I don't necessarily agree with the whole show's approach to his character, but to me, this is a logical evolution of the character that they decided to make. That I didn't agree with back in season 5, making him a good guy. They assume he's a good person, and this is the logical extension of that. So to me, it makes sense. But again, I don't like that logical leap that he's a good person. But so I'm okay with this.
But once we accept that he's a good person, why not? Is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. If the show is saying that, okay.
Still, I just
get that he's got he's got a very deep
evidence.
Protection. He's in very deep protection mode, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I need to correct the mistake of like not saving Buffy, and I need to like. So he is like the safest babysitter, because it's like, I just watched Conan the Destroyer, and it's like having Wilt Chamberlain be like the protector of the princess, right? He's big. He's not gonna do anything.
Sure. You got it, Dad.
You know that cultural reference everybody always gets. Conan
On
the
tip
Destroyer.
of their tongue. Just the tip of their tongue.
So does the Buffybot really need training here? Like, this is just to make Giles feel guilty. Like the fact that, he's trying to train up a robot, like of a robot, like replica of the, essentially the Slayer that died, like that was on his watch, right? Like, this feels really nutso. It feels like they should be seeking out Faith or someone who's actually supposed to be a Slayer at this point, if they still want to do this Slayering. But instead, like, this just playing around with the robot version of someone is really It's like really messy and weird. No wonder Giles has to go. I mean, it's like, doesn't make sense anymore. Like, he should be out trying to connect with Faith, right? Like,
yeah, go visit her in jail. She's still in jail.
Bail her out, break her out, whatever.
Yeah.
Send Buffybot to go get her.
I was looking at it from a different point of view. So I was like, of course you need to train the Buffybot. Like, this whole episode, something that drove me crazy on this rewatch is like, so like, if you accept that AIs learn, which I think you have to, because that's like their whole deal. Nobody is ever correcting the Buffybot except for Giles. He's training her. Like, Willow's reaction is always to like dive into her programming and to edit some like code, but like Buffybot multiple times asks both Willow and Tara, like, is there something wrong with what I did? And they're always like, no, you were perfect, but let me edit some shit. And it's like, that's not how you teach anybody. And since Buffybot is acting like a child, like, treat her like a child and gently guide her and be like, in the future, if somebody says X, you say Y, and this is Y, or whatever. It drove me crazy that there's so like, nobody wants to like help this bot learn at all. And obviously it's because of emotional reasons of like, they don't want to, this Buffybot is there, but they don't want to actually interact with her very much, right?
Yeah, they're treating her like a toaster or a car.
Yeah.
That they got to diagnose and fix.
When they should be treating her like Battle Angel Alita.
Yes.
Well, like, she's even, yeah, you're right. She's even curious. She has questions. Like, they totally just dismiss the reality of what she's saying, even.
It hurt me this rewatch. And it was interesting because I don't think it's something I cued into like back when this show first aired.
Well, the show's got you on a loop. You're like waiting for Buffy to come back and for them to resume the monster hunting. The fact that they're like, she's gone, but we'll just keep doing what we've been doing. Like, it doesn't disrupt the boat for them to lose the captain,
Yeah. I feel bad for that Hanson shirt vampire. because getting turned apparently did nothing to help him. Like, one of the big vampire turning rules in the show is if you're a loser and a nerd before you get turned into a vampire, you become cool. It happened with Jesse. It happened with, like, alternate Willow and Xander, and it happened with William the Bloody. This poor Hanson dude, just as bad as... I can't imagine how bad he was before if this is him now.
Yeah. I like that he gets his head squeezed off. Have you noticed that in this episode that for whatever reason, vampire dust has more physical than it normally is? Like,
Yeah.
Giles gets it on his sleeve and has to, like, you actually see it. And then, like, the demon squeezes his head off and he's got it in his hands. You actually see it later. It's something, vampire dust has become a little bit more gritty.
What do you think the dust is actually made out of? You know, like prop-wise.
Oh. It looks like sawdust.
Yeah, it looks orangey. But in the effects, it's always, like, gray.
Yeah.
This is also, we forgot to mention this earlier,
Panko.
this is the first episode on UPN, so they're shooting on the same lots, I think, but there are, like, production differences you're going to start seeing.
Okay, so what did Willow just do? So this, if we do this for the summary, this is how I imagine it. It's like that classic, like, everything is great song. Do, 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 do. It's just like the fawn in the forest, like, comes towards Willow, and then she just stabs its neck and, like, holds it close or whatever. Like, that is an awesome, like, Willow's different now scene where she's, like, morally okay with killing a little bitty animal. I mean, this is a girl that wants a kitty, that's, like, generally like a squeamish, like, normal person. Like, I wonder, I don't know what the fan fiction is on this. Like, did Dark Willow swap out over the summer? Is this really Willow? Because, like, this is, because I remember when you guys were gaslighting me about Dawn, how she's always been on the show. I feel like I'm surprised you're not gaslighting me that Dark Willow has always been the real Willow, or this whatever, like, evil Willow. Because, like, that was so messed up, and so, like, it's such a beautifully contrasting scene. I just couldn't believe it was happening.
Yeah.
And I saw it a second time, I was still like, this is unreal that they did this to the character. I feel like obviously the stakes could never be higher for her, but the inability to give up and allow Buffy to be dead.
And the fact that she, like, totally covers up, like, doesn't let even Tara know what she did.
Well, she knows it's messed up. I mean, she's totally cognizant. It's why, she's acting very cool about Giles getting out of the way, but, like, she knows that she's doing something messed up and that everybody has to be gone for her to do it. And, like, we see it as a viewer, but, you don't have a sense of the dark stuff involved with the resurrection spell. But, like, she's been able to put all this stuff together on the sly, or somewhat on the sly. And, like, we see it when the spell comes together. It's just, like, unreal that's the level you have to go. But that's inappropriate, because it's also appropriate because you don't want to just resurrect people. You want to make it hard. But that it also, like, there's a moral compromise, like a moral shift in the character. She's going from lawful good or lawful neutral to chaotic neutral, chaotic evil, right? Probably chaotic neutral.
I think
but,
she
like,
might
that
be
alignment
chaotic
adjustment.
lawful or whatever, right? Wait, that's not a... Because, like, it's still, like, about the greater good, but it's doing it in the most reckless way, right?
Well, that's part of chaos, is making a decision for the greater good, right? Where it's not for saving individuals, right? When you're like, oh, let them kill the little boy if it will keep the crops alive another year. That's good for all of us.
That's what the ends justify the means. That's more Machiavellian.
No, that's more evil. Ends justify the means is evil. It's always, like, evil. Where you've come it is, because it's like, if you, like, okay, I don't. This will be
I was laughing because it's
myself.
like you're, like, cutting to the end of storytelling, right? Like, it's always evil. If you're the guy saying that, you're evil.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's why I
mean, it just is.
So do you think, Mike, that this version of Willow is more evil than that evil version, that evil vamp Willow?
I don't know. I haven't spent enough time with this.
We haven't got enough screen time.
I'd have to revisit Evil Willow, because she was clearly the opposite of Willow in some ways. So you had, like, good Willow, evil Willow. But, like, I don't think that the stakes were as high for Dark Willow at that time. She was just doing vampire stuff, killing people, vamping up. Like, didn't feel like she was more acting in her nature. I mean, it didn't feel like this feels like a moral turn that Willow has taken.
But remember how like Willow said, I think the evil version of me is kind of gay. Remember like that foreshadowing? And now we're having this same, Willow who's in a same-sex relationship, who's now acting more morally ambiguous. That's like a dark take of like, kind of like a destiny that like she got a peek into that now maybe she can't escape. I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. I mean, she's definitely shifting into that character. I'll believe it when she brings out the fishnet or whatever.
Yeah.
Leather. It's leather, my friend.
Okay, I got to do this tangent. It's in my mind here. So the evil tangent, though, Dennis, for me is like the gambling system in the United States. Gambling is illegal, but it is morally, I think it's unequivocally, it's shameful that gambling is legalized in the United States. But it's okay because the money will go to the educational system. And we're okay. Really, that money should just not exist. There should be no gambling money that goes to education, but it's shamefully allowed to exist. So it's like, you can resurrect someone. This is where the parallel is. Like resurrecting someone, but like you have to do something morally ambiguous or evil to do it, like kill a little deer. You just can't do it then. That's not allowed, right? Like so the fact that you can morally compromise to do something evil, like it doesn't matter. It's just evil. That thing can't be done. And that's where it's like that turn is so hard. It's like, oh, you did something that totally adjusts who you are as a person, then you can't do that thing. So now she's evil Willow to me. Like it just happened. And I was shocked they did that because the ends justified the means of her doing something really terrible.
John, do you want to add to this with your next comment?
I have a much lower stakes observation about Willow, just that she's completely carrying the team now. She is, she's kind of one of the moms of the house. She is in charge on patrol, watching everybody, telling everybody what to do. She's entirely the tech support for the entire operation. It's like, what are Xander and Anya and even like Spike and Giles contributing at this point? Because I feel like,
well, Spike's still the fighter, right?
Yeah, he seems to be, but he didn't. I don't know. Just he seemed kind of useless this episode. Lighting the guy on fire and then stepping back, and later he didn't seem to be very, very helpful. I don't know.
It seems like if you just whittled the team down to just Willow and Spike, you'd have all the like braids and all the muscle, right?
You'd have like 90% of all of them. I think it's a good point. It's also interesting, like, we think about that episode where Buffy like was in Cleveland. I remember that episode where Buffy like died and things were like apocalyptic wasteland, where Buffy had never come to Sunnydale. Buffy had never come to Sunnydale. Was that it?
Yeah.
So,
it's the wish.
And it was kind of like this apocalyptic wasteland. Man, that's also starting to come true, which is kind of crazy. But also like it kind of like it's this interesting like foreshadowing of like rule of law. Like the moment, and it's a dark take. It's like the moment that the rule of law breaks down, and that people who do bad things don't go to jail, or people who commit crimes don't go to jail. Then like your society falls apart dramatically quickly, and I think that's exactly what happens in this episode, which is super interesting. Like, and that's my modern day 21st century where the rule of law is constantly being subverted. It's like, guess what? The lawman or lawwoman, in this case, Buffy, no longer around, much like an 19th century American Western town where there's like a lawman or lawwoman. It's like when they're dead, then all the criminals and all the robbers and etc. They wreak havoc in that old timey Western version of the United States.
Oh, it's definitely like a Western. Yeah, I didn't feel that way until you said that, but yeah, definitely you're right.
Right, because that's like the biker gang is like the old timey like apple dumpling gang. Well, not the apple dumpling gang, but Sundance, was it Sundance Kid and the Wild Bunch?
Sundance Kid and the Wild Bunch. I like that. You're just combining all the.
Is that one of the infamous gangs?
I think you're just mixing up two different Western movies.
Westerns. Well, Jesse James and his crew. Wait.
But even Wild Bunch, isn't that like a motorcycle gang movie also, where it's like that is a riff on a Western? I mean, it's all that motorcycle gang thing is such a Western, like it's
they could have just replaced motorcycles with horses.
70s. Yeah,
just replacing it with horses. So,
But I feel like I see that set and I was like, are we in Pylea? Where are we? Is Pylea just over to the left? We just panned right.
Yeah, it turns out
the
you don't need
Marsupial
another
game.
dimension. You just got to go like an hour outside of Sunnydale. So Giles's goodbye moment at the airport. I mean, there's a lot to like dissect in those moments, but I just wanted to give a specific shout out to Tara. Does the Gur Arg from the mutant enemy with the little monster finger. Also, like this weird like pre 9/11 thing of them being able to meet him at the gate, which even though this aired after 9/11. And I just want to do it. And then we could talk a little bit about the going away to everybody, and like, I'm also like Giles is legit abandoning Dawn. Like if he has any kind of like
totally
responsibility
to all of these non-adults,
yeah,
and a monster.
And the exterior shot of the Sunnydale Airport gave me serious like, whoa, that looks exactly like the Santa Rosa Airport. Which I've put down at the bottom of the docs, a comparison of the two. Like they look like they're about the same size. That's my local airport down at the bottom. Except the Sunnydale Airport looks a lot more like a boat.
Yeah, that's right.
It looks like a pier, right?
Yeah.
Just like
So it turns out that it's actually the Long Beach International Airport is where they shot that, according to the Buffy Wiki.
They seem to have have a lot more destinations than the Sonoma County Airport, though.
Yeah, if you can apparently, according to the monitor behind them, you can fly to Rome, Madrid, Paris, London, Amsterdam, Hong Kong, Moscow, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, New York, Miami, Pittsburgh, San Diego, Seattle, or Tampa Bay, all from Sunnydale International Airport.
Well, I can go from Santa Rosa. I could go to San Diego and Seattle, so that's two of those places. Although you notice they did say like they're flying LA to London.
Yes,
so,
I did notice that.
Yeah, I was going to say the most unrealistic cities that you can fly from Sunnydale Airport would be Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. Because those markets are so small. The bigger markets, sure. I mean, California to Hong Kong is a huge market. Denver is a good connecting market, but Tampa Bay is like a super small destination, relatively.
Yeah, and Dallas is local enough, kind of.
Podcast idea. Just discuss airport scenes from different TV shows.
no. I feel like you just do the Wings podcast that you really want to do.
I know we're walking into at least one person in this group's personal interests of travel, so
let's just shout out Dots, Lines, Destinations. It's an airplane podcast that we've all listened to a few times at this point. But yeah, that's featuring on the sidebar as an advertisement during this segment.
It's a great podcast. Super fun.
Is it though?
It
is. You know what? If you're interested in planes and destinations and airports, yes, it's fantastic. And if we were going to do a airport and TV podcast, we would absolutely want to have those guys on as guests to confirm the facts. But we've tried, so we're all right. We're doing fine.
Can we talk about Willow's magic words?
yes.
So when she lures and sacrifices the baby deer, she says Adonai Halome Pine, and I googled that, and that is actually, I guess, real as magic words can get. They're real magic words from a book called The Book of Ceremonial Magic by Edward Waite, which was published around like 1913 or so, and it's actually a collection of grimoires. So it actually comes probably from some even older magic book. So that's kind of cool. And then the magic spell that she does when she actually resurrects Buffy, I looked around trying to find that. I couldn't find anywhere where those magic words were taken from, but I did find other places that have taken this magic words scene from Buffy.
Ooh.
So there's this website called spellsofmagic.com, which is kind of like a wiki of magic spells. So if you know a magic spell, you put it up, and then people will know the magic spell, and they can rate it. So this spell titled To Resurrect the Dead is rated 5 out of 5 stars, and it's just a perfect description of what happens in this episode of Buffy. So one of two things happened. Either somebody just wrote down what happened in this episode of Buffy as though it was a real magic spell put on this webpage, or the scene is, both this and the scene are based on some earlier source material. I don't know. But it goes through, gives you a complete description of exactly what you should do. You need a living animal sacrifice 1 to 2 days before the ritual. You need to say the magic words. It's almost the exact same thing that Willow says. You stab the magic animal, avoiding the heart. You say, accept our humble gratitude for your offering. You cut the heart out, and you get your 5 friends, and you kneel down by the grave, etc., etc. But the best part of this webpage is the comments. Somebody, Shiro Kayubi comments, is it really possible to bring back the dead? And Ajiel comments, no, it is not. Spells that go against the laws of nature are not effective. And moving down a little bit, Witch's Child comments, animal cruelty is never, all caps, okay. They are our friends and equal. 2, this is the real world. You are not a bloody extra in an episode of AHS Coven. I don't know what that is. 3.
American Horror Story.
Okay. 3. I think you might want to think a bit and try to remember all that stuff about the rule of 3 and messing with the unnatural and causing no harm and whatnot. Yeah. Oops. And then she comments again, or he, and says, sorry for the rant. This was just the stupidest spell I had ever read. They are clearly hoodoo-based. No issue with that, but encouraging people to violently stab a living creature to death to try to achieve something that is impossible is both delusional and psychopathic. IMO.
Oh my God. I feel like we've really reached the point where we can't tell fiction from reality anymore. It's interesting also she thinks it's hoodoo-based because they're calling for Osiris, right? Who's an Egyptian god. Am I right about that?
I don't know if Osiris... no, Osiris is in this version of it that they posted on here. Yeah.
Because like the urn of Osiris, and she keeps asking Osiris to bring her back.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess the assumption is Buffy's in the Egyptian underworld. Although I don't honestly know how underworlds work in Buffy. Or in the real world.
Unfortunately, underworld, if my memory serves right, it's full of vampires and lichens.
And one vampire lichen hybrid. Who,
yep. Also, John, I think you said a wiki. I think you meant to say witchy. It's a witchy repository. I'm just kidding.
It's a Wiccan
wiki with that Wiccan lifestyle.
It's a
Wiccan lifestyle.
There's no warning on this website. This is just a magic spell on a
dude. What warning would they put up? What warning are you expecting?
I don't know. I'm waiting for the this is all bullshit warning on the top of
It's not bullshit. I mean, it's quasi-religious.
Mike, open a Bible. There's not like a disclaimer.
Yeah. I don't feel like they should be obligated. I don't think that they should be obligated to warn you that it's not real. No. Because it's, it's spiritual. Somebody's spiritual beliefs.
It's like your belief, man.
I do think, though, that it is definitely uncool to copy down what happens in Buffy and put it on this kind of website and tell people that they should stab an animal but avoid the heart and then cut the heart out to do a ritual.
I feel like I want to comment on this that, hey, isn't this from Buffy? And then, cite the episode.
I mean, like I said, it's entirely possible that it's not from Buffy, that Buffy lifted this from some earlier source material.
I mean, let's be honest. The idea of a ritual animal sacrifice is as old as time. So that was lifted. So that's historically accurate. You want to get into the details about the bloodletting? Yes, we all know that bloodletting was a part of animal sacrifice in the past. The idea of cutting out the heart is probably the unique thing. So that's the question.
Well, Nikoshima did say that it's a great area. And for the most part, it's offensive / dangerous / wrong to be part of an animal sacrifice. And
I'd say if it's good enough for Abel, it's good enough for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, but all the ancient Greek sacrifices, they would always do an animal sacrifice. It was always about bloodletting. Then they'd burn the fat of the animal. I mean, the details.
You gotta figure in ye olden days, if you had an animal to eat and you just didn't eat it, that was you must have had that's some heavy mojo.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully Jesus came, and because then we could no longer have to sacrifice animals, right? Because of Jesus, because he sacrificed himself. Then we can ignore all this stuff post Jesus, which is great.
Get a reset. I say avoid all this complication at all and just outsource. Hire Wolfram and Hart. They're the resurrection specialists. You don't have to feel this moral complication about killing the fawn yourself.
I don't want Lindsay on the Buffy set. He doesn't fit there.
He did leave town. Maybe he's headed to Sunnydale.
That would be amazing if he stopped in Sunnydale thinking he's going to be okay. Like, I'll be fine here. I'll start it over again.
I don't want him working at the espresso
I can't
pump.
catch a friggin' break, man.
His like 1930s pickup truck pulls up.
Oh, man.
What's left of it?
After the cops get through it.
All right.
All right. So when the biker gang is driving into town, they drive past the Sunnydale sign, which is not the same Sunnydale sign that Spike ran over, a different one. And this one says that the population of Sunnydale is 32,900 and that it's at an elevation of 102 feet. Just wanted to point those numbers out in comparison to Santa Barbara, which in the 2000 census had 89,508 people. So more than twice as many people as Sunnydale, which really actually, because like we've talked about how, you know, Sunnydale is this Santa Barbara analog and they even use maps of Santa Barbara to stand in for Sunnydale. But it's always felt to me like Sunnydale was much, much smaller.
Yeah.
Like having only one nightclub and stuff like that. Always felt like Sunnydale was much, much smaller than Santa Barbara. And this at least confirms that feeling to me. It's also apparently at a slightly higher elevation, which is neither here nor there, I suppose.
Yeah, it makes sense though if it's like the same geographical space, but it's just less densely populated because of all the murders.
So in the Buffyverse, in the Buffyverse, that makes sense. It is Santa Barbara, but half the people have been eaten by vampires. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that actually scans. I like that. That works.
It's amazing to me the show has gone as long as it has without introducing a demon biker gang before. It seems like an obvious thing to bring up. So I dig it. Man, that last shot of corpse Buffy is like always gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm glad the show went there. It's like disturbing this idea that like Buffy is rotted. You know, it's not just that they put her soul back in her body. They had to like fully resurrect her flesh and rejuvenate it. Like we see that profile shot of like the completely desiccated like corpse. It's like rough.
Travis, do you feel like accurate for a few months of decomposition? Because it seems to me like she's a little bit further gone than I would expect, but I don't actually know how fast bodies rot.
Given also that they did this, the Scooby Gang did this themselves, so she probably didn't get formaldehyded.
That's the question, yeah. She didn't really get embalmed or anything like that. Probably. I mean, that's a good question. Maybe they did some magical. You think they did like some magical preservation spell, like trying to bide their time until they could really resurrect her?
Well, wait. Are you guys saying that? Because this is my sense too. Is this in the show somewhere that the gang buried her without notifying any authorities?
Well, they have to because Buffy's still pretending to be alive at school, right?
Right. So there's no.
But
death
she has
certificate.
a headstone, right? That says Buffy Summers.
Yeah. Have you noticed though? It's in a corner of the cemetery with no other graves around.
I think they like.
I think it's in the woods.
It's sort of under a tree.
No, it's in the cemetery.
It is in the cemetery, but it's under a tree in this like spot. Like if you look at the shot, it's in this really idyllic little spot with no other headstones visible in the immediate area. I think it's like off to the corner in like a little grotto of trees, and they like stealth
off the
buried
grid.
her.
It's off the grid.
The same grave they dug for the Master's bones. They're like, we already got this space.
Possibly.
Gosh, that's so insane, John. That makes me feel crazy. So in order to avoid the death certificate or the verification that she would be dead, they had to bury her, but they buried her in a cemetery with a magical spell over her corpse so they have the chance of resurrecting her later.
Well, I don't know about the magical spell necessarily. I think that's neither here nor there, but they definitely they know a guy who can get a backhoe.
Yeah.
Like
I always picture this as being like Xander's construction skills put to work. They dig it out. He probably makes the gravestone himself.
They obviously have access to the cemetery at nighttime. They have no problem getting in and out.
Okay, that's just so crazy. Because why go through the process of creating a headstone? And then also, why put her body in a dangerous place? They go to the cemetery almost every damn night to fight vampires. Why not bury her someplace actually peaceful and different, like by
like
The
some
backyard.
other series of backyard or something. Like this is crazy
that's
to
a good
bury her
point.
there. This is the highest risk for the least possible reward. And so what, they resurrect her into like a combat zone? I mean, not even saying that the plan is to resurrect her, but if they're going to bury her there again, around all these other vampires who are possibly, I mean, that's just a dumb, if that's what she did,
It
right?
is crazy and dumb. And yet, what else could they have done? Because like, if they had gone to the, if they had like gone to the police or gone to the coroner or whatever, and like gotten Buffy buried the normal way, then there'd be a record. And I feel like that. I don't know how does it work? Does that automatically trigger something with the school? Probably not.
No, those feel like independent entities that don't communicate necessarily. Like as much as we assume there's a shared database, I feel like you die, then the death certificate, that's like with the state, so you can stop paying taxes. Very important. So they can't do the death certificate because that, I feel like you're right, that does like have these like weird chain of triggers and events. But she's also so young, she wouldn't be working and necessarily paying taxes. The main tax situation is the inheritance from Joyce and then who owns the house. And so if the ownership of the house hasn't passed, like from Buffy, because if she dies, then the estate would pass to either Dawn or probably to Dad or some kind of escrow caretaking scenario. Because like really, it's the status of the house is the issue. Because like Tara and Willow are there and nobody's like knocking on it, so they're clearly paying the mortgage at least, or they're able to produce some kind of compensation, possibly from the inheritance, so they have access to Buffy's accounts. So if Buffy's dead, I mean, this is where it's like everything is Weekend at Bernie's in this situation, with that weirdness of like she can't be dead because as soon as she's dead, we have to deal with all the financial implications of death and how they don't have access to that money anymore. So they shouldn't have buried her because they've actually made a site makes it clear that she's dead. There shouldn't be at least a headstone. I mean, they could bury your body, but the headstone there is like, that's weird.
All right, new podcast. We watch TV shows with a CPA and
Oh, I'd love that. I would love that. I want to you know what? I would watch fucking cop shows and ask if whatever the cops did was legit or not. Because I feel like in cop shows they're constantly breaking the law. That makes me crazy. But also CPA, yeah. Okay, can we start so Travis gave me a copy of the Buffy musical on vinyl. It is still in its package. The musical countdown has started. What is this, episode 4? 3 episodes from now?
I looked it up. I was wrong. It's episode 7.
Episode 7. So 6 episodes now. So just want to start this countdown to the musical. I'm very excited.
Awesome. Yeah.
Also, oh, yeah. So I was going to just say that Giles leaving to England to me is just not really the responsible adult thing. Like he makes it seem like it's responsible and adult, but if you leave Dawn and not help raise her and not help be there to protect her, I just want to emphasize that I don't think that is the responsible thing to do. Even if you're upset and sad that Buffy died, to me, the responsible thing is not leaving this person alone to be raised. Although she has, adult figures in her life, it just, to me, that's not, oh, I'm a real responsible adult type situation. But everyone has to live their own life, I suppose. But he doesn't really have much of a life, so I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah, it's almost like he needs some sort of spin-off to find out what's going on in England.
But there's nothing going on. I mean, it's never said like, oh man, there's this, never said anything is going on. I mean,
cup of tea.
It is rough. I think Buffy is definitely his like surrogate daughter, right? And that emotion somehow never transferred over to Dawn, which is like wild to me. There should be a little transferiness, right? All right. You guys want to move on to questions for the group?
Questions for the group.
Okay, so I posed this question initially before we talked more about Willow, and now I think I have an answer for it that I don't like. But the question the show poses, which is crazy, is if you die closing a portal to the demon dimension or the dimension, to demon dimensions, where does your soul go? So Willow poses this question in the show, right? She's like, oh, where's Buffy's soul? Where could it be?
What do you want us to say here, Michael?
Yeah.
Well,
You're the one who's going to need to talk.
So I think this is a lie. I think this is a shitty question she asks, because I think she knows where Buffy's soul is, and she poses that question in order to get Xander to continue with the ritual, because he
puts her soul in Buffy's soul in danger with the implication of where it could be, and they don't know. But I think she does know, and she just wants Xander's help in the participation in the ritual. So I like initially I was like, oh, that'd be a fun speculative question. But now I'm like, no, this is Willow being shitty to try and control other people. What do you think about that? Do you think that's true? Or do you think that Willow genuinely is concerned about Buffy's soul?
I don't think we can answer this question, Michael.
Oh.
Well, where do you think Buffy's soul is? So
Yes,
you don't have to make a prediction.
That's what we want to know. Where do you think Buffy's soul is?
I think it's in a new wave paperweight called the Orb of Tesla or whatever.
Oh.
Elon Musk has it on his desk. It's the Orb of Tesla.
The sad answer is like Buffy's in a better place. She's in a better place, wherever that is. I don't know if this show believes in heaven or not. It definitely believes in hell. But like it also believes in a billion other demon dimensions. So I don't know if it believes in heaven. There probably is a heaven, but there probably is also like a better place or the powers that be. I mean, there's just so many worlds that her soul could be in, but it's not in the bad place. And that's the implication by this. And so I don't like that Willow did that to Xander in retrospect. At the time though, I was like, what other demon dimensions could her soul go? Because like we saw where Angel went. Like we actually saw where he went when he died. So she has gone to a physical, like there is a place that she went.
We didn't see where Angel went when he died.
Doesn't he have flashbacks to being in hell or whatever he is? Or is he just the time
we
passes?
see him come back from it.
Yeah.
And we get some kind of...
He talks about it.
He talks about it,
centuries
but
of
we
torture.
don't see it.
Okay, we never see it.
We see the demon dimension that is hellish, where there's like the factory, and everybody ages and they beat you up.
I could have sworn we saw some pictures of some visuals of the places where Angel went when he died. No?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
No.
All right. That's my question.
Do you think Willow is now on the Wolfram and Hart radar after a successful resurrection? Like, because they definitely keep track of like powerful characters, right? For potential recruitment.
Yeah, somebody's got to be in all those files.
For it. Yeah. Lila's like, something just pinged on my 90s computer.
Totally, like the resurrection spells, the atomic bomb of witchery spells. Like this is a big one. You got someone that's got resurrection. Like you can never lose. Your army can constantly come back. Like that's the recruiter right now.
Well, there's only the one clay pot from the gnome. They said that was the last one ever.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, you just gotta make another clay pot.
Yeah, just learn a different spell. If you got the chops for this one.
Just about the clay pot. Duh.
Just go to, what is it, Color Me Mine? Is that what it is? Is that where you make the clay pot, or you color the clay pot?
Oh, yeah.
I'm here to paint an urn of Osiris.
Ooh, Osiris. That's interesting. I just can imagine the people being like, that's so cool.
And I think I'm going to be posting this on like the Twitter account, but have you guys seen, do you remember the Buffy season 6 promos?
I haven't. I was trying to find those. I couldn't find them.
I just posted one. Somebody wants to click on it. I think this is like the right one that I was
Is it okay
of.
for me to watch this one?
Yeah. I think it's just a promo for this episode and for it moving to the new station, UPN. So they did these with like every character where they're like, without her, Sunnydale's going to hell. And that was like the UPN promos for like the summer.
Man, the sound design of that is weird. I immediately thought of like Japanese advertising. There's something weird about the cuts on that and the music because it's super goth, but also just ambiguous.
All these candles. And Spike has his new curly haired look. So that's all I got for that. I just thought there's something about that I really remembered from when it from before it aired. So let's move on to themes and deep stuff. The only themes or deep stuff I was thinking about really, because I think we'll talk more about like actual resurrection next week, was like that vomiting a snake is like strong dream imagery. So I looked at a couple different sites that kind of did dream analysis, and so these are from two different sites. One is from myislamicdream.com. It says vomiting a snake in a dream also means death or distancing oneself from one's enemies. So there's a lot of different snake dream explanations and vomit dream explanations, but that's the only specific combo I found on that site. Let's see, where's the other one?
I can't believe there's so many explanations here.
To vomit live snake. This is from antiflow.com, Dream Dictionary. To vomit live snakes in your dream indicates that you may be at odds with yourself. You made a life choice not because you want to choose a certain path, but because you wanted to progress. The snake itself is connected to your life force, especially when found in the stomach. This could be an omen that you must overcome obstacles. And then there's later info if the snakes you vomit are dead, then this can indicate a health issue that you could perhaps be unaware of. If you are upset during the dream, then you can feel some uncontrollable desire to solve problems in your life. If the snake retains a life force after being sick or vomiting the snake, it can indicate that you will survive in the face of adversity. I always like dream analysis because they're like, this is specifically the code. This is code breaking for your own subconscious. So I know the audience might have expected more for themes of deep stuff this episode because we're talking about resurrection, but
we went through it. We talked about some of the themes of Dark Willow and a little bit about fate analysis and things like that. We talked about it.
And connecting airports.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, we got deep. We got deep into airports for sure.
Mike brought up something really hilarious during the episode. He's like, everyone in Sunnydale fails the Turing test.
Because they all can't, or they all can't recognize Buffy.
Oh.
Buffybot.
Yeah, they were all struggling with it. It feels like they were... The human AI recognition was like poor. First is like whatever that episode when Warren, his first ex, whatever, everyone's like, she's a robot, like instantly. Like none of the vamps or the demons are putting it together.
Except for Hanson. All right. You guys want to move on to recommendations?
Recommendations.
I'm going to recommend Battle Angel Alita because of Buffybot this episode. That movie was super underrated. And also, I've been reading all the Battle Angel manga recently and really enjoying it. And so Alita is a cyborg, technically. She's got this 200-year-old brain. But the manga and the movie really push the line of what is a robot and what is a human. There's a point in the manga where they start making duplicates of Alita, and then those duplicates are pure robot, but they have they have Alita as their complete base, and then they change their personalities based on their own life experiences. And I feel like that's where Buffybot could have gone. Also, why you need to train robots? Don't just have them go off into the world. Give them some basis of knowledge. Also, the movie is really underrated. It was good. I also thought about Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which I know we've already recommended, but I'm doing that a lot. Just because Pee-wee meeting the biker gang felt so similar.
I'm trying to use the phone.
I say you let me have them.
I say you let him go.
No!
Yeah, a little bit of that.
And then I started thinking about the vomiting snake stuff, and what I came up with is so Shivers. I know I've already recommended, and I probably bring up a lot. That was a really good Cronenberg movie. There's the little infectious worm-like things that run through a person's body in that movie, and there's
little,
amazing
dick turd with a spear on it that swims at you in the bathtub.
Yeah. There's an amazing scene where Barbara Steele, and I've put a link to it. I don't know if I'm going to play it. Where Barbara Steele's kissing somebody, and you see it move through her neck, similar to what happened with Willow, into the next person's mouth and then their neck.
Oh,
Really good scene.
oh that movie is rough. Good movie. Rough watch.
I'm also going to recommend Poltergeist 2 because it has a famous vomiting a creature scene that is really a really excellent creature vomit scene. And then the creature starts to grow and form into a giant thing after the guy. Is it Craig T. Nelson in Poltergeist 2?
In the first one, I don't know who's in the. I don't know if he's in the second one.
Yeah, it's him. Yeah, he vomits up this like snake creature thing that then like forms into there's a shot where it's played by a man who is a real life like quadruple amputee, and you see him like in the monster suit wiggling around, and it's like that just came out of your mouth. So those were my recs. I'm gonna do more biker gang stuff next week. Maybe something else with resurrections. I don't know. Impossible to predict. Speaking of predictions, why don't we get into those?
Virgin predictions.
Predictions. This is going to be maybe our longest ever prediction segment because we chose this time not to do a recap of season 5. So what we're gonna do is we're going to handle a big pile of predictions that basically wrap up season 5, and then we have an actually really surprisingly large new pile of predictions that just deal with season 6, episode 1. So strap in because this is going to be like a lot of predictions. Okay, starting from the beginning. There's a lot of scrolling here. Okay, all right. At the end of season 4, in our recap of season 4, Michael, you predicted that the Watcher Council will bring forth a monster in season 5.
Sorry, are we doing just season 5 right now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So, Michael, you predicted the Watcher Council will bring forth a monster in season 5. I don't think that happened. The Watcher Council has done a lot of nefarious shit, but they did not bring forth a monster in season 5. Unless anyone disagrees, I am denying this one. Michael, you also predicted that Giles' house will be destroyed in season 5. If it was destroyed, it was not destroyed in season 5. It was kind of knocked about in season 4, but it was not destroyed in season 5, so that is denied. You predicted that Tara and Willow will have magical sex in season 5. Now, I would, just because that sounds amazing, I hope for the two of them that they did. That sounds fantastic, but we have no evidence of it. We have no evidence of it. There's no, and we
I feel like that was in reference to some of their magic spells that were sexual because they weren't showing actual kissing. So they were showing very explicit magic scenes back in season 4.
But this is still denied, right, Dennis?
It is denied, but I would strongly hint that Mike should re-up that prediction for season 6.
What? You just gave me a free one? All right, yeah. I'll put that on my list here. All right.
Wow, I didn't know we were just giving away the store now, Dennis. I don't know when that happened.
Man. I feel like that's sometimes Mike time limits his predictions too much.
Yep, it's true. Okay. Speaking of which, Michael, you predicted in season 5, episode 7, Dawn isn't gonna die in season 5. She hasn't.
Well,
so
technically,
that is confirmed.
Since Dawn is part of... No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, you predicted that Graham is going to die in season 5. It hasn't happened. So that's denied.
I'm about to ask who's Graham.
You remember Graham. Come on.
You made a prediction about him.
Yeah.
He's Riley's friend. The only friend
that guy
he
with
has
the
left.
incredibly square jaw and absolutely no charisma?
Yeah, I thought they were going to come back for a mission or something.
Okay. You predicted season 5, episode 11, that the Watcher Council will kidnap Dawn. I don't know why I have this one highlighted because that could happen at any time. That we're going to leave that open. No reason to talk about that. Season 5, episode 12. Michael, you predicted that Quentin Travers is going to be killed this season, meaning season 5. Quentin Travers is still alive, so that is denied. I believe that's all of our season 5 predictions for the end of season 5. I forgot to tell you what your numbers were beforehand, so I don't really know where how much they've fallen or risen. Oops.
I think they were in the 50s.
They were in the 50s? Is that right? Okay.
A really precipitous drop, because at one point in season 5 you were in the 70s.
Yeah.
I think the last episode of season 5 really fucked you up.
Yeah, so your overall accuracy is currently at a 60.7, so you're really skirting that DF line. Whereas your accuracy for season 5 is now at a 55.4. Now, we have a little bit more to talk about because we just watched season 6, episode 1. So let's see what that by itself does to you. Michael, you predicted in season 4, episode 14, that Willow will be identified as a bad witch. Dennis, why did you highlight this one?
Because I think Michael is identifying Willow as a bad witch in this episode. He's predicting his own prediction.
That's a fair point.
She hasn't been identified in show as a bad witch.
Yeah, I think it has to happen in show. So I think we're going to leave this one open. No one has yet said, Willow, you're a bad witch. So we'll have to leave that one open. But the same episode, Michael, you predicted that Willow will try to get Tara to perform evil magic. This one's tricky for me because there's definitely some peer pressure going on here between Willow and the rest of the gang, and she's definitely pressuring everybody into doing this spell, which is very dubious. And Tara says that it is wrong or that it is unnatural. Is it evil? Travis, what do you think about this?
Well, I would say the show makes you want to believe that it's evil. Remember, we had this whole thing where like the show believes that those adults gave good, or that guy gave good advice to Buffy last season. The show definitely thinks that killing an innocent animal alone in a forest is an evil thing to do. And I would say that by definition makes the spell evil to some degree. That's my cognitive
and
logical
thought flow. I think Tara goes a long way to like make it okay to perform the resurrection spell. Like when Willow's body is being ripped apart, and before she vomits this snake, there's that moment where Anya and Xander want to break the circle, but Tara tells them, no, this is what was going to happen. She's got this. She's great. I think like
she's enabling.
She is enabling the evil magic to be performed, and so Willow has succeeded. So you're saying try to get because you don't see a scene where she's being convinced because she's been convinced, you know?
Right,
like,
but it's clear that Willow's leading the charge on this.
Yes, and she's gotten Tara to perform evil magic. I think this is confirmed. This is a slam dunk. Am I? You know?
Travis, do you agree?
I think so. I think the show wants you to think it's an evil spell.
All right, Dennis, do you think that the spell is evil?
Well, I mean, it brings back Buffy, and that's good. But is it evil as in it's a kind of spell an evil witch does? Then yes.
Okay, so this one's confirmed. Willow does, in fact, try to get Tara to perform evil magic. Okay. Season 4, in the recap, Michael, you, at the end of season 4, you predicted that Buffy will die in season 5, but not permanently. She's died in season 5. She's been brought back. So I think this is definitely confirmed.
Good job.
Well done, sir.
Good job, Mike.
Yeah.
There's 2 more seasons of this show. Come on, y'all.
Okay. Michael, same episode, you predicted that Tara and Willow will resurrect Buffy in season 5 or season 6. Perfectly done.
Great. I'm glad that you weren't like, well, also, and Xander and Anya.
Now, this next one here is, I think we're going to have to do something controversial.
Here, I'll do it.
Michael, at the beginning of season 5, if you recall, Giles is threatening to move to England. He tells Willow, I'm going to move to England. He doesn't tell Buffy. And you predicted that Giles isn't moving to England. And in the end of that, the beginning, towards the beginning of, in the very next episode, the beginning of season 5, he decides not to move. So we said, you know what, Michael, confirmed, Giles doesn't move to England.
We were
But
being
now
so
Giles has
short-sighted.
moved to England. So we're in the position of possibly rescinding a confirmation from a previous episode, which is a dangerous precedent, possibly.
I think it's very clear he moved to England.
The prediction, Giles isn't moving to England. We confirmed it because at the time Giles had, said he was going, and then he changed his mind. But he's changed his mind back.
Oh, this is silly. I got confused about this. No, he made one prediction that came true, and then to get in trouble for this, he would have to make a second prediction that Giles will eventually move to England.
So your point, Travis, is we should never rescind a prediction.
No.
Once it's been decided.
He made the prediction for that episode to be fulfilled.
But
right.
Mike is always so specific with his timelines and stuff, and he didn't say Giles isn't moving to England in season 5, episode 2. He said Giles isn't moving to England, and he moved.
I'm
to
okay
England.
with this being rescinded because I think it'll come back. Because I think Giles is going to come back from England. I
so
think
he moves back. Do we have to give it back to him? I think that.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Oh my gosh, this is so obvious.
Is it?
It's so obvious. Oh my god.
I think, real quick, Dennis, you're voting, you're voting to deny this one?
Yeah, I wanted to deny it, but I also don't want to hurt Travis again.
Travis, you're voting leave it confirmed. I'm going to vote it leave it confirmed because of the legal principle of stare decisis. You can't have double jeopardy on predictions. That's my move.
This is a noble game. It is a noble game. Thank you, John.
Okay. All right. Season 5, episode 2, Michael, you predicted Anya is going to get a lot of money. She fondles the money again. I don't know if she has a lot of money. A lot's not a specific quantity. She's definitely seems like she's probably going to get a raise out of this, but I think for now we're going to have to leave this one open.
All right.
Season 5, episode 5, Anya is going to run the day-to-day operations of the magic shop. That's clearly what's happening. Anya has been given that promotion, so that one's confirmed. And we got more. Okay. Season 5, episode 21. So the end of the last season. Michael, you predicted that in season 6, episode 1, at the end of the episode, Buffy is alive. Perfectly predicted, Michael. Down to almost the minute. That's incredible. You knew the season, you knew the episode, you knew the moment in the episode. It was very good.
I just know how this show thinks about things, about resurrection.
Season 6, episode 1, also though, Michael, you predicted, opens with Xander and Anya getting married. That is denied. So,
Not only are they not married, they're not even acknowledging their engagement.
Such bullshit. It should open with a wedding, anyway.
okay, this one's interesting. Season 5, episode 21, Willow will talk to Buffy's grave. Is she talking to the grave when she does the magic spell?
She's talking above the grave.
She's not talking to it, though. She's not talking to Buffy the way that would seem to imply. And Buffy is alive now, so I don't know. Presumably, she won't have will she have another opportunity to talk to the grave? I think this one's denied.
Wouldn't it be gruesome if Buffy came back but couldn't get her way out of the coffin and died?
And finally, our last prediction of the day. Season 5, episode 21, Michael, you predicted that the Buffybot will return. And so it has. So that is confirmed. Oh boy. Phew. That's a lot of predictions, you guys. As it stands, Michael, your overall accuracy has risen to a 61.47. And we can now say that after one episode, your accuracy in season 6 is a solid 75%, which is a tie with your highest ever season. So at the moment, you're doing exactly as well as your best ever season, which was season 2 at a 75. Season 5, by the way, that we just ended, is now your second worst season, being just above season 3's 54.32% with a 55.41.
Well, this number can only go down. So I've got some new predictions here, starting with Tara and Willow will have magical sex in season 6.
Dennis!
I believe that Giles isn't leaving the show in season 6. the Scooby Gang is going to put together an intervention regarding Willow's dark magic hobby in season 6. They got to stop this craziness because once you resurrected somebody, what else are you going to do? So I think Dark Willow is a concern. And then I have a new prediction style. I'm calling John's Curse. We will never see a collectible We will never see a Backstreet Boys collectible lunchbox in season 6. This is referred to by Anya. She got it along with the urn of Osiris, whatever. So we're never going to see this lunchbox.
Pay close attention to all the background details in Xander's apartment all the time.
I would do
Curse.
that anyway. It's fine.
All right. There will be no consequences in season 6 to the arsoning of downtown Sunnydale by the biker gang in season 6, episode 1.
Can we clarify that a little? Because like, if there are consequences in season 6, episode 2, which is like while it's still happening, can I be a dick and be like, I'm gonna deny that because shit's happening right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the point of this for me is that... Oh, shit. You just told me it's denied, basically. I should delete this one.
You could literally just say season 6, episodes 1 and 2, and then I wouldn't be able to deny it next episode, and it could be an actual, like...
All right. I'll say episode 1 and 2.
that.
Thank you, because they are kind of a continuous episode. Because my point would be that this, like, terrifying biker gang moved in. They're arsoning stuff. Like, they may have burned down Sunnydale, for what we can tell in the episode, but, like, Sunnydale will be reborn, but not in episode 2, where they're still burning it down. Thank you, Dennis, for sparing me. You've become kind in your...
in my dotage.
In your age. Yeah, in 2020. I like 2020 Dennis. New Dennis is the best. Okay. And then the super prediction is Buffy is pissed about being brought back to life. I think she's angry. Probably at Willow, but just generally she's pissed about being brought back to life.
All
She's
right.
She's moved on. Even while everyone else has not moved on.
I've been your host, Dennis St. John. You can catch my work on Snoopy in Space on Apple TV. You can follow me online on Twitter and Instagram at Dennis Comics. That's DenisComix. And that is also my .com, where you can buy my mini comics and my graphic novels. They're all monster related, and if you're a fan of Buffy, you might like them. And where can people find the rest of you guys on the Twitters and such? If people want to give that info out, I should stop asking. Nobody cares.
I'm on a popular Buffy podcast.
All right. Thank
And by
you, one
popular,
and all.
I mean like 15th in the Buffy podcasts.
We come up earlier than that nowadays.
Do we? That's exciting.
Yeah.
Not very many podcasts go all the way. They don't make it to season 6. Episode by episode, this is a crazy venture to continue doing.
Yeah. Do you know those turds who created a podcast called Never Been Slayed, a Buffy Virgin podcast? They fizzled out in like season 1, episode 5 or something.
I hope they're listening to this. This is what a successful Buffy podcast sounds like. And I want to thank everybody for listening to us this long. Thank you, one and all. And thank you for listening and talking to us. You can visit BuffyVirgin.com. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter. We're at BuffyVirginPod. On Instagram, we're at BuffyVirgin. Reach out. We love to hear from you. And don't forget to rate us and review us on iTunes and Stitcher and wherever the hell you listen to us. And we'll see you in hell.